coming today to our official ribbon cutting ceremony for Grace Tuxedo Neighborhood Community Garden. So this is something that I suggested to Pastor Eddie almost 3 years ago at the first neighborhood association meeting. And I was like, what about like a sunflower park or a wildflower garden or something? And he kind of thought I was a little crazy. But I started with a couple of just little sunflower patches and some vacant lots in the middle of the block, and then over here in front of a burned out house. And he was gracious enough to offer this to me and said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, what about a community garden and get the neighbors maybe to engage and use it as an opportunity to get to know your neighbors. So during the pandemic, one of two things happened. Either you got to meet your neighbors or you never saw your neighbors, right? And so I'm all about finding ways of creating icebreaker situations, which people that maybe ordinarily wouldn't interact with one another get an opportunity to introduce themselves or make a new friend. A stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet, right? So it's already been happening, like I've gotten to know Heather and Walter right next door as a result of me being down here all hours of the day at night, that sometimes they're like, what are you doing here at 11 o'clock at night? And I'm like, I'm watering. But there's some new neighbors. Zainab, Ben is here. Erica stopped by. She just moved from Baltimore last year. And when I moved into this neighborhood 3 years ago, I knew it was a little rough, but I was like, it's in between two churches and it has new sidewalks. How bad can it be? Well, I found out. But for me, this isn't about displacing anybody out of the neighborhood, but like, how do we work together and cooperate with one another and just keep the neighborhood, I'm an artist, and so I just wanted to add some color. There was no color, there was not a lot of energy. But I drew some inspiration from one person that I saw on a consistent basis during the pandemic. And that was Rick, who bit by bit, piece by piece, was just picking up a little bit of trash and a little bit of litter and kind of doing his small part. So sometimes we feel overwhelmed with the complexity and the challenges that we face in the world today. But never underestimate the beauty and the power that one person can make with one small contribution. And so Mother Teresa said, we can do no great things, only small things with great love. And so because of Rick and me just saying hello to him while I was working on my yard, he's like, well, you should come to the neighborhood association meeting. And so sometimes those little things are those ripple effects or the butterfly effect, or sometimes just those little incremental things make a big difference. And so I want to use this as a potential incubator for other folks in the neighborhood to maybe consider starting their own backyard garden, which is kind of a throwback to the Victory Garden. Victory Gardens was a government implemented program that started in World War I and really took off in World War II, where the government encouraged anybody and everybody to plant their own backyard garden to kind of help the food supply, as a lot of our food supply went overseas to the Allies. And so Victory Gardens were really popular in the 50s and 60s and kind of have fallen a little bit out of fashion. And so the idea is to create this as an opportunity to grow your neighborhood, to get to know your neighbors and grow some vegetables and add some color. And so on your way out, I have a sunflower for everybody, and there's also some seed packets. So you can take a seed packet, and we also have strawberry shortcake, because eventually we're going to have a strawberry patch. And in the back half, we're going to have a pumpkin patch for some of the neighborhood kids, because there's some families that are in the neighborhood, and we're starting to see some kids playing on the sidewalk. We're starting to see some kids kick the soccer ball over in the church parking lot. And so I'm looking forward to how this one little block in the middle of an interesting part of Indianapolis is going to continue to blossom and grow. And we owe a lot of that to the dedication of Pastor Eddie as well. Would you like to come up and say a few things?
I'll get that for you, Heather. First of all, Gino did an excellent job. I've been speaking for my whole life, and I can't do it without notes. So, excellent job, Gino. Good morning. My name is Pastor Eddie Smith, and thank you, sir. And I am here in two capacities. First, I am here as the pastor of Tuxedo Park Baptist Church and as the current president of the Grace Tuxedo Park Neighborhood Organization. Thank you. I feel like I'm at church with all the claps that I'm getting. About 6 years ago, there was a community organization that came to our weekly community meal where we saw probably about 200 on average individuals from our community come and just sit around the table and get to know each other and eat. And they wanted to know if they could survey the community and find out what was the most important institution in the Grace Tuxedo Park neighborhood. That goes from Washington to 10th, Sherman to Linwood. And of course we said sure. So for about a month and a half, they came in and surveyed everyone in the community. And to our surprise, our church, Tuxedo Park Baptist Church, was rated the #1 stable institution in the community. So out of that was birthed, that was about 6 years ago, and out of that was birthed our current motto or our current vision statement, which is the lighthouse to the community since 1902. We've been here in the same place. As a matter of fact, we believe that this was the first church house that was established in 1902. And we are excited about our partnership with the Grace Tuxedo Park Neighborhood Organization. And when I think of a lighthouse and the light, that's exactly what we're doing here today. This is the church's land, and we are partnering to provide a place where light can shine in our community, where sometimes it's not as bright. We are hopeful that the work that Gino and other people in the community have done to this beautiful area that was just a vacant lot will help shine some light in our community, especially where we are situated. So here's to the camaraderie that this is going to bring with people adopting boxes. I'd be remiss not to thank, first of all, the INRC. Let's give them a hand. Sharon is here. They're the ones who was gracious enough to give us the grant to do this and bankrolled it. There you go. I also want to thank our church. They're also the ones that are just community rooted and community organized, and they were excited to do whatever they could to provide not only the space but other areas to be able to do this. I want to thank NESCO. The president of NESCO is here, Chris Stock. NESCO has always been supporting us. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank Gino. Let's give him a hand. Gino and his merry band of community elves are all over our community. Rick picks up trash from Washington all the way sometimes to 10th. It just takes a small little spark. Thank you, Jacob. If I missed you, please charge it to my head and not my heart. I am grateful for all of you. Please let us leave here today leaving some good energy for our community. Thank you.
You mind going up, Steve? Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, there's not much more to add to those wonderful remarks from Pastor Smith and Gino. I will say, as the new Director of Community Outreach, I am really honored to be here this morning and be a witness to the collaborative effort that this community has put in to the beautiful space that is behind us here. These kinds of initiatives and efforts cannot be undervalued. They are priceless. So thank you very much for everyone again joining us here today for this groundbreaking of the Grace Tuxedo Neighborhood Community Garden. This is a truly exciting moment for our community, and I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to the community organizers, the faith groups, the residents, and artists who have come together today to make this vision a reality. This community garden represents more than just a physical space. I get that sense just being with you all here today, that it is a symbol of unity, of fellowship, and a symbol of the power of collaboration. It is a place where we, as community, can come together, get to know our neighbors, and cultivate meaningful relationships. By tending to this garden, neighbors can also cultivate a sense of belonging and create a stronger sense of a more connected community. Through its learning lab, we look forward to this garden to be a place where neighbors can learn from one another, share gardening knowledge, and inspire each other to explore the possibilities of backyard gardening, just like the Victory Gardens that Gino mentioned. We hope that this community garden will spark a movement where more people in this neighborhood begin to tend their own gardens, contributing to a greener and more sustainable future. This, in pair with current and upcoming city efforts, has the ability to change the narrative and trajectory of the East Side for generations to come.
Yeah.
Through the Growing Your Neighborhood initiative, the Adopt a Box program, the Grace Tuxedo neighborhood is exemplifying the importance of community engagement and neighborhood unity. Through this engagement, neighbors can collectively advocate for their needs, mobilize resources, and influence decision-making processes at local government levels. This is very important to us as the Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate team. We want to make sure that your voices are heard and that your interests are represented. Ultimately, the importance of community engagement lies in its potential to create a shared vision for a neighborhood where residents actively collaborate and work towards a common goal of making their space a better place to live, work, and thrive. Together, we can sow the seeds of friendship, cultivate a thriving community. Don't we love garden puns, Gino?
That's awesome.
I love it too. I love it. And reap the bountiful rewards of a shared harvest. Thank you once again to all those who have contributed to this project and all those who are making the Grace Tuxedo Neighborhood Community Garden a vibrant and flourishing hub for the entire community. The city sees and supports your efforts, and it is very excited. We are very excited to see this effort come to fruition. Thank you all.